This is BJ Hathaway here at Augusta Golf Instruction. In this video we're going to take a look at the swing of Jack Nicklaus. And Jack was probably one of the most intelligent players of the modern era. May or may not have the most on-plane swing compared to a lot of people we look at today, but was very, very consistent with his swing and had a lot of power, especially when he was young, and he really knew how to manage his game and work the golf ball. So we're going to take a look. We're going to start with an older view of his swing back when he was much younger. He really had this big backswing and would lift the left heel, as you can see here, probably maybe 4 or 5 inches off the ground here. So he's going to have just the toe of his left foot on the ground. Big hand arc here at the top. Now what he did and what he continued to do throughout his career, even as he changed some of this motion with the feet, was he would start the downswing by replanting that left heel. And what that would do would create a lot of leverage between his lower body and upper body, and he would start replanting that heel. That would start to move his weight back into his left side. It also start to square his hips up pretty early, so you can see his hips are almost completely squared up, and the club or the hands are not even shoulder high already. So he's getting that lower body to shift that weight back to the left side. Then you're just going to power through with his arms, and lower body will kind of stabilize, and he'll turn through and just really rip at it. So as we go and look at swings as he got a little older, you'll see that you really start to taper off with that lifting of the left heel. But he would still move. That first move was weight moving back, and then the arms would drop, and then he'd just swing his arms through, and the body would kind of respond. And if we look at, we'll come back in a few minutes. Again, probably in his mid-30s. Not a long golf swing, especially with his irons. So that's something I think we should definitely pay attention to. A lot of people are trying to get the club shaft parallel to the ground with irons, and you don't see many tour players trying to get the club that far back. But you'll see a lot less lifting in the feet, left foot. Here's a good view. So just a little bit with a 5-iron of raising that left heel, and as he starts down, he'll start to get that left heel moving, and then the arms move secondary. So it's a little counter move, 1 and 2, and that gets the weight back again on that left side. He can just swing his arms down and through. Now if we look at swing plane, okay, took the club back basically with arms, and the shoulders would start to respond to the arm travel. Kept the club outside his hands, which I definitely like. But he would work the club up really steep in the backswing. You'll see right about here the shaft is almost 90 degrees. But what he would do is shallow that angle coming down. Okay, so he got not exactly back on the shaft plane, but very close. And we'll look at how he did that in a moment. But looking at modern swings where everybody's got the club back more in here, Jack made a move on the downswing to kind of fix that. Okay, so a lot of things he did that worked for him very well. As we go and look at him in the '86 Masters, we're going to see again, club stays outside the hands, and he works the club up pretty vertical really quick. This is probably like a 9 or a wedge, so nowhere near parallel. But he works that club down a little bit more shallow. This was probably a little cut shot he was hitting into 14. But if we look at his driver swing, this was a fade. He started this down probably the middle of that bunker here on 18 and worked it back. Club stays outside the hands, and he gets it pretty steep up here. But he's going to shallow that angle out. We're going to look at that. How did he do that? Because that's one of the problems most people have who are a little bit more upright with their swings and hit slices. They don't know how to shallow that club enough to keep it swinging too far to the left downswing. So we'll look at this from a couple of different angles, but what we're going to see is if we pay attention to the right forearm, okay, this thing is pointed way over here at the top of this short swing. And as he makes this transition, he's going to start to change that right forearm angle coming down. Okay, so it's going to start basically shallowing the club for him. So we'll see the degrees of change in that right forearm coming down and through. It helped him work that club back up and under, or back under on the downswing. And let's look at his release for a moment. So he did, have a pretty good amount of lag coming down. Wasn't anything really over exaggerated. So this is, a good amount of lag. Of course, he hit the ball very, very, very solid, but you'll see he didn't try to really hold on to that angle in the follow through. He just let it go. So the right elbow kind of worked away from him in the backswing, then it really started to get close to him on the downswing. So we'll now look at that with this view. So as he took the club back, you'll see he didn't really engage the wrist at all until his hands got about shoulder high. So it was a very moderate amount of wrist hinge. Right elbow worked away from the body, but watch what he does here. Look how close that right elbow gets in as he starts down. So that's how he shallowed that club enough to be not overly steep, even though he had a very steep backswing. Watch him shallow here, okay? So that right elbow is going to get really close back in to keep it from coming over the top. Right elbow gets in there again. And you can see from this angle, watch the shaft angle shallow out right there. And Nicklaus could hit it fades and draws at will. Didn't really change his swing so much. He would just change his alignment and change the club face. But he was very consistent with what he was able to do. So right elbow worked away. Right elbow works in really close. Look at that. That's a really good amount of lag angle there as he transitions from kind of a wide backswing to a little bit more narrow on the downswing. So we'll see over the years he kind of slowed down a lot of that left heel compared to when he was young. Still lifted it up with the longer clubs, but he didn't have such a massive leg drive. He would just replant, get solid on the left side, swing his arms down really strong, and since he was already getting that body to start moving, he could swing his arms with a lot of force. So some things I think you can take from this. Most of your better players these days, and especially Jack, kept the club outside his hands in the backswing, basically starting with the arms and the shoulders respond, and the body picks up the motion from there. And if you're going to be employing a pretty upright swing, then we've got to make sure that you get that right elbow to really get in close on the downswing to keep you from coming over the plane, okay? So those are just a few things from Jack's swing that you can look at in your own swing, and then do a little studying and see what could I learn from this golf swing that I could use. One of the arguably maybe the greatest player ever, but definitely knew how to use his golf swing, how to think around the golf course, how to be very, very smart with the shots he played, and built a very consistent swing. So that'll wrap it up. If you got any questions, let me know, and thanks for watching.